أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تعالى في القرآن الحكيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فأقم وجهك للدين حنيفا فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها لا تبديل لخلق الله ذلك الدين القيم ولكن أكثر الناس لا يعلمون منيبين إليه واتقوه وأقيموا الصلاة ولا تكونوا من المشركين من الذين فرقوا دينهم وكانوا شيعا كل حزب بما لديه فرحون صدق الله العظيم. The verses which I've just recited translate as follows. So set yourself for religion, being upright. The nature made by Allah, in Arabic fitrah or fitrat in Urdu, the nature made by Allah in which He has created mankind. There is no altering Allah's creation. That is the right religion, but most people do not know. And continuing with what is the right religion, the next verse says, turning to Allah and keep your duty to Him and keep up prayer, and do not be one of those who set up partners with Allah or those who split up their religion and become sects, each faction rejoicing in what it has got. So this is chapter 30, Surah Ar-Rūm, verses 30 to 32. In the last khutbah, I mentioned near the end that God has created every human being in the same way with a pure nature which corresponds to Allah's own nature. And this is stated in the verses which I've read just now. It is said here that the right religion, which in Arabic is ad-dinul qayyim, the right religion is the nature, the fitrah in which Allah has created mankind. And that is the nature with which every person is born. And then the fundamentals of religion are mentioned here, that one should turn to Allah, keep one's duty to Allah, seek His help through prayer, and call on Him only without any partner. And these principles, the Holy Quran says, are inbuilt into human nature and are not things which are artificially forced upon human beings. When a child is born, it cries and it acts in a way to make those around him or her meet his needs so that it can survive. The child or the baby has not been taught what to do by anyone. It is born with this capability and with these instincts. That is its natural behavior. And we might say that that is, in fact, the child's religion. And that behavior is the same for every child, regardless of the religion, nation, or race of its parents. And further, according to the Holy Quran, everything in nature expresses the glory and greatness of God, and everything seeks help through prayer. The Holy Quran says, if I quote it here in translation, the seven heavens and the earth and those who are in them declare His glory, declare Allah's glory. and there is not a single thing but it glorifies him with his praise. But you, O people, you do not understand their glorification. This is chapter 17, verse 44. And also the Holy Quran says, do you not see that Allah is He whom glorify all those who are in the heavens and the earth, and the birds with their wings outspread? Each one knows its prayer and its glorification, and Allah is knower of what they do. Chapter 24, Surah An-Nur, verse 41. Of course, their prayer and glorification of God, of things in nature and birds which are mentioned here, is not in the sense that they are aware of doing this, in the way that we human beings are aware of doing these things. Their prayer is not what we think of as prayer, where we stand and bow and prostrate, etc., and recite certain words. That is not their prayer. And their glorification of Allah does not consist of their saying Subhanallah like we do. It is their state and condition which reflects their prayer and their glorifying Allah. A newly born baby knows how to seek assistance, and it is really calling for assistance from Allah. And the mother or the parents act as the agents of Allah to provide the baby with its needs. Now, how does the baby glorify Allah, glorify God? When we look at its creation, the creation of the baby, we are amazed at how this tiny thing has come into existence, starting from nothing inside the mother. And it is now functioning with all its organs and its heart beating. We also know that it will grow into a full human being, having a brain and a body that can achieve so much in the world. And it is that state of the baby which is declaring before us the glory of God. Now, an infant's behavior, an infant's natural behavior, does not look to us like a religion in the way we think of religion, because the baby is not performing any prayer. But what constitutes the religion of the baby is that it is following the laws of Allah. There is a hadith in Sahih Bukhari in which the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has related a lengthy dream which he had. And then the interpretation of the dream was given to the Holy Prophet in the dream itself. One part of that dream which he related is that the Holy Prophet saw a very tall man in a garden who was so tall that his head reached heaven and his head could not be seen. This man was surrounded by a large number of children, so many children that the Holy Prophet ﷺ says that he had never seen so many children. In the dream, the Holy Prophet ﷺ was told that the man was Ibrahim alayhi, and the children around him were those who had died while still in their natural state, still adhering to their fitrah. In other words, what is meant is that they had died in childhood before they had grown up enough to be held responsible for their actions, and they were in paradise with Abraham. So when the Holy Prophet ﷺ related this to people around him, some Muslims asked him, what about the children of the idol worshippers? And the Holy Prophet replied that the children that he saw included children of the mushrikeen, the idol worshippers as well. So they were there also in paradise with Abraham. So the children that the Holy Prophet ﷺ saw around Abraham were all the children of mankind who had died before attaining the age of discretion or maturity, whatever may have been the religion of their parents. Those children were born in their particular religious communities, and they may have undergone ceremonies which are carried out in their religions at birth or during early childhood. A child born in a Christian home may have been christened or baptized. There are also ceremonies among, for example, the Jews and the Hindus for the infant in its early days. And when they died in childhood, their funerals would have been conducted in accordance with their own religions. Their funerals would not have been Muslim janazas, but according to their own religion, the religions of the communities that they were born in. And they were known when alive as Jewish, Christian or Hindu children, or to whatever community they belonged. Yet the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ saw all of them in the Garden of Heaven around Ibrahim ﷺ. In their short lives, they had acted according to the way in which Allah had created them. They did not have the power or the choice to defy the will of God and to rebel against it. In fact, there is nothing in the natural world around us which can choose to defy the will of God in the way that an adult human can. So animals, trees, wind, rain, they can't choose to go against the will of Allah. Islam therefore teaches that a child is born pure, and it is not born with a sinful nature, and it does not inherit the sins of his forefathers and ancestors. Also, a child does not come burdened with any record of a past life, and there are no sins left over from a previous life for which it will face punishment in this life. He or she is born with a clean, fresh record. There is a well-known saying of our Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ to the effect that every child is born conforming to nature, conforming to fitrah. It is his parents who make him Jewish or Christian or Magian. Magians are Zoroastrians. This is in Bukhari. And in explanation of this hadith, Bukhari, the compiler, has himself added a note to say that where it says every child is born conforming to fitrah, by fitrah is meant Islam. Now, consider a child born in a Muslim household. It is obvious that his parents don't make him into a non-Muslim. On the contrary, most of them try hard to bring it up as a Muslim. So does it mean that the child, even after growing up, continues to conform to its true human nature that it had at birth? Do we see that those who were born in Muslim homes continue to obey Allah instinctively and automatically by their very nature, and they are innocent of any disobedience to Allah or any wrongdoing for the whole of their lives as adults? Do we see that? That they are innocent like children for the whole of their lives, even after growing up? Because what I've described here is Islam of every child's birth, obeying Allah automatically and instinctively and being wholly pure and innocent. That is the Islam that every child had at birth. And of course we don't see that Muslim children, after they've attained maturity and become adults, that they remain in their childhood innocence and purity. It would be absurd to say this. The Islam, which is called true human nature or fitrah, is followed by a child unconsciously, without the child knowing, without the child making any effort to do it. The child is not capable of holding some wrong belief or deviating from the path which God has placed in its nature to follow. But when the child grows up, he or she acquires the capacity to disobey God, and it has to make a conscious effort to submit to God, and it has to apply its own thinking and understanding from that point on after attaining maturity. Now, while it is true that if a child has Muslim parents, they don't turn him into the follower of another religion, but like that hadith says that it's the parents who make the child Jewish or Christian, etc. But sad to say, many such Muslim parents set a bad example to their children while not actually making them non-Muslims. And as a result, there are children in Muslim homes who grow up with wrong ideas, behave badly, and even commit sins and crimes, following the example of those around them, of the elders around them, and of general Muslim society, even though their parents never made them into actual non-Muslims. So, it is wrong for an adult Muslim, someone born to Muslim parents, to be smug and complacent and think that he is even now acting according to the nature in which Allah created him as a baby, because of this belief that only non-Muslim parents turn their children away from that natural religion. And there is another wrong conclusion which has been drawn from this hadith, which is something we are seeing, I think, in the last 30 years or so. It is claimed that when an adult non-Muslim becomes a Muslim, has the good fortune to become a Muslim, it is said that he has reverted to Islam. Reverted, meaning that he was born as a Muslim, even though in a non-Muslim household. He was born as a Muslim, and that he has now returned and come back to the religion of his birth. And this fashion has developed of calling what we used to call a convert to Islam, calling such a person as a revert, or some say revert, to Islam. But the religion with which he was born, with which every human being is born, is of perfect submission to God in each and every respect, by instinct, without even the slightest thought of disobeying God. So, can a non-Muslim adult who embraces Islam instantly return to his childhood state and become as innocent as a child with no thought of sin in his mind? Well, obviously not. And this description of a convert as reverting to Islam, coming back to Islam, is not supported by the Holy Quran or Hadith or by the history of the spread of Islam from the beginning till now. Everyone knows that people become Muslims by taking the kalama shahada, saying that I testify that there is no God but Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is his messenger. They don't say, I am reverting to Islam, the religion of my birth. The Holy Quran does not use any such term for embracing Islam, which can be translated as reverting. When the Holy Quran asks non-Muslims to become Muslims, the kinds of terms it uses are that it asks them to believe, to submit to God, to follow the revelation, to follow the Holy Prophet, etc. The Holy Quran nowhere asks anyone to revert to the religion of their birth, because that is not possible. In Hadith, there are numerous reports of the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ inviting people to Islam, and there are reports by the Sahaba, by his companions, on how they became Muslims. But there is no report in which anyone says that he reverted to Islam or someone asked him to revert to Islam. And in the Holy Quran and Hadith, if there is any word which you can translate into English as reverting, it is usually applied to someone who has reverted to unbelief, gone back to idol worship after accepting Islam. The only people who can actually be said to revert to Islam would be those who were actually Muslims, who were known to people as being members of the Muslim community. Then they themselves chose to leave Islam, and then fortunately they chose to become Muslims again. About them you could say they reverted to Islam. So to conclude, all human beings are created with a pure nature which makes them want to submit to Allah and to do good deeds. In childhood, everyone acts according to this fitrah, this nature. But after growing up, after becoming an adult, it requires a hard effort by a person to follow his original fitrah. And it is always a struggle in which we fail at times and succeed at times. Whether we were born as Muslims or whether we accepted Islam after becoming adults, we have a struggle in which we fail at times and we succeed at times. It is only the prophets who were sent by Allah, who are innocent and who remain true to this inborn fitrah all their lives, even after becoming adults, even before they were appointed as prophets. They remain true to that through Allah's special grace and protection. So may Allah enable us to refrain from making claims of superiority over others and to do the best we can in terms of our own deeds. Ameen. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafa'na wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim. Innahu ta'ala Jiwadun Karimun Malakun Barurur Rufur Rahim.